Hello. I am currently finding tech issues, so that's why things are taking a little bit right now. I think I have it resolved. I think the solution was incredibly simple. In actuality, I don't think I had a cable plugged in all the way, and that's why it wasn't turning on. So that hopefully will do the trick. There it is. So we should be good to go. But hi, welcome to, hopefully, the finale of this Wind Waker Randomizer seed. I don't know if we'll actually finish it or not, because I realized off-screen I made a huge mistake. I totally was not paying attention and totally misread something, and as a result, I both missed something really important and also ended up seeing a spoiler in the process, because my method of trying to verify what this meant was to look at the spoiler log, which probably wasn't a smart way to go about it, but was what I ended up doing in the end. So yeah, I'll talk more about that in a moment as we jump into the game. Good timing, the song is just ending. So yeah, we'll switch over to the game, make sure everything is synced up properly, more or less synced up. I need to be more on the ball about that. Also, I don't think I'll have this on screen, at least for this playthrough, for the sake of consistency. So yeah, let's jump in. Alright, so it's been a week since the last stream, and there's definitely something I need to talk about. So I decided to cut down streams into highlights and upload them onto my main YouTube channel, while also having the full archived VODs on a separate channel. So because of editing through everything, I realized I made a huge mistake. I totally misread something on the tracker, and that is the Zunari check. For some reason, it didn't register whatsoever, that it said specifically for having the exotic flower in the shop. So because of that, one, we have not actually done that check, and two, I also accidentally saw what item it is, and it is very important. So, since we happen to be on Great Fish Isle anyway, we're gonna start out by going over here and trading the town flower up to the exotic flower. So, it's my misunderstanding of how this works. This is a great camera angle, but basically, the long side quest, as far as I can tell, is more specifically for the whole trading quest. The early stage to just get the exotic flower is not included, which is actually very fortunate in my opinion. So if I understand correctly, it should be possible to simply trade this back to him, and this will add we'll add both flowers to the inventory for the shop. So we should be good to go here. Bit more expensive because it is rarer, but we should have both now. Also, another part of the long side quest chain is the placing of everything around town, and that is not actually required with the current settings I have, which is good because trying to buy enough flowers to put around the entirety of Windfall can be, one, time-consuming, and two, very expensive. So, with that, if I am not mistaken, that should mean we are officially done with Great Fish, but we also still need to go back to Windfall and take care of the check I missed. So again, that's on me for not paying enough attention. I did mention multiple times going through that stream again that I was like not all there, so that does explain where that mix-up ended up coming into play. So yeah, it also means that because of this, this will open up a lot of options for us, and also that kind of comes with the implication that some things may be required if they are tied to the mirror shield. So this actually opens up quite a few options for us that we'll have to go back and do before too long. So yeah, at this point we'll get one reward, and then later on you'll get a different reward for getting everything. But for completing this much of the quest, we get the mirror shield, and for real this time, we are done with Windfall. But because we have the mirror shield, that opens up the entirety of the Earth Temple. Which, as I mentioned last time, I'm not really a fan of, so this'll be interesting, to say the least, trying to go through the Earth Temple. We can also do most of the, Wind Temple. I keep getting these two mixed up, but either way, another check we'll do really quickly is Angular Isles, which is towards the bottom of the map. Mirror Shield doesn't really open up too much, to be honest. It's basically only like one check in the overworld as far as I can tell. And then mostly just, temple stuff, except if you have the boss entrance. Entrance is closed, basically, in which case you would have to go through everything, including fighting, like, Shalhala again. So hypothetically, there might be situations where you don't even need the mirror shield, but given what I did see in the spoiler log, which wasn't any other item, but based on its placement on the list, and lied to me, like, this is considered, like, a required item for this seed, so there's something tied to one of these that's probably important, either within the dungeon itself, or tied to whatever is on Angular. That's the inherent problem. I actually don't know what this is, or like which part is actually the required part, and therefore there is still a little bit of mystery for us here. It's not all cut and dry, even though I, again, do wish I hadn't seen that small spoiler, but again, it could have been a lot worse. I could have seen, like, where the actual light arrows were. Obviously it has to have some... What am I doing? I can just hookshot. It's gotta have some tie to the mirror shield, at least that's my assumption. But the actual specifics of it remain to be seen. Again, it's kind of interesting how randomizers are set up, where there's a logic to everything, so... It does lead to some very unique situations at times. Alright, so we have this little set piece here. Let's see if I can remember how to do this, because it's been a hot minute, to be honest. I don't know why I let go there. I'm trying to think about this, actually. Can you actually do this? Like, pull one block out and then pull this one out farther? You can, as that makes things a lot easier for us. Ooh, that drops the entire stack down. Just casually playing Catherine as we try to get to the top of this spire here without dropping everything too low. And once you're at the top, you have to basically make this chest physical. I assume we'll have to glide, but I guess you could also hypothetically do this. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever tried that before, if I just used the decking leaf. This is a treasure chart. I'm gonna do something very specific here. I'm gonna see what this one is right away, because again, if it's tied to the mirror shield for progression, something important has to be from either a chart or from the dungeon directly. So once we're back out at sea, we'll see what this chart is and make a beeline, because this could be the light arrows for all I know. So we'll see which chart this is first of all. This is treasure chart. We have two, actually. So now I have the problem of I don't know which one it actually is. So we'll check 34 and 35, probably. 34 and 35. It looks like 34 we already had, I just didn't open it for some reason. But 35 is the new one. So we will check the Islet of Steel first thing, and see if that ends up being important or not. I also don't remember if we did everything there too. I think there's actually a few things. Never mind, there's only the one thing to do there. It is directly south of Great Fish, so we have to go straight back to Great Fish and try to knock this out. Alright, so Islet of Steel is like round, so it's probably this one over here if I had to make a educated guess there. And we'll swap back to the grappling hook in order to actually fish this out in a moment. In general though, this has been a pretty easygoing randomizer seed, I think. It hasn't been overly stressy. And again, we haven't needed to use any other hint systems, but again, I do wish I had avoided the one spoiler, but it's okay. I actually don't know if that's gonna be it or not, or if this is gonna be like a fake out. That is actually the treasure, okay. So we will see if this is anything important. It might even just be like the Wind God's Aria, which will lead us to the Wind Temple. It is an orange rupee, so my assumption was incorrect. I do wonder why treasure chart 34 wasn't open, even though I definitely do have it. That is weird to me. Genuinely not sure why I didn't... Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you open it. It does say those, even if you don't open them. So it's fine. Just forgot that, I guess. So now we have a lot of options. I think right away, because of my assumptions about the Mirror Shield, I just will want to get this out of the way now and try to go to Headstone in order to try to navigate the Earth Temple. Now, the Earth Temple doesn't have a ton of keys. It only has 3 keys, and it has 16 checks, so that means 10 of these are just gonna be a free-for-all. Like, we don't know what these could be. One of these has to be the Wind God's Aria, because we're running out of places for that to be. Or at least that, again, I feel like a problem I have with these randomizer seeds is I make a lot of assumptions that I probably shouldn't be making. Like, assuming, hey, this is probably where this is gonna be located. Like, that's probably not smart in actuality. We never got the rupee on top of the island, either. It would be funny if that ended up being, like, something important, but I just saw yellow and assumed there was a rupee. So just for the sake of peace of mind, as I'm, you know, throwing out this idea, I think I will just check, just for the sake of curiosity, to see what's on the top of this mountain. We also don't need any of the extra hearts or rupees around the area. We can simply fly up to the top. Yep, that is a yellow rupee indeed. So we were not missing anything. Actually, no, this is something. It's a treasure chart. So again, I made another really bad assumption there, that the rupee was the actual treasure, and not the treasure chart. So, that's another one for the list of beginners, like rookies' mistakes I've made in this particular seed. But again, this is the first time I've ever done a Wind Waker randomizer to this extent. Again, not the first time I've tried, but the first time I've gotten this close to the end in one. So this is number 6, so that means we're only missing 4 treasure charts in the entire game, which is not surprising to me in the slightest. I know my luck. I'm not surprised whatsoever that it's not going terribly well. Interesting, that's actually opened up by default, so you actually don't need the Earth God's Lyric until later into the dungeon. Or Earth God's... yeah, Earth God's Lyric, Wind God's Aria. That's how it works. Alright, the Earth Temple. This isn't one of my favorite temples. I actually feel like it's a little bit cumbersome to navigate, mostly because of Medley herself, because of having to constantly swap over to her using the command melody for various tasks. It'll be a little bit easier than usual though, because we do have access to the mirror shield from the get-go, meaning we don't have to worry as much about finding things. Well, we can basically go out of order. For example, the whatchamacallit, there's a room early on where you need 2 mirrors, but we only have access to 1, basically, in the traditional dungeon order. And once you have the mirror shield, you have to basically backtrack in order to actually open up this particular spot later on. But we can basically circumvent this. So yeah, I've only edited down the first stream of, well, now 5, and again, hopefully 5, but because we might have to go through 2 dungeons, this might take a little bit more. This might take an extra stream. Again, schedule is very up in the air, but I would like to hopefully finish this seed before too long, just for the sake of being able to move on to other things, and also just to have this not, looming over my head, basically. And again, this section is going to be a little bit easier for us because you're supposed to have Medley reflect everything, but instead we can simply do it ourselves, which will save us a lot of time in the end. I feel like there's other stuff hidden here, but I'm trying to remember where that actually is. Transparent chest and warp pot room, that's gotta be this. That's a key. Not surprising whatsoever, because there's, I think, a locked door coming up before too long, so it's gotta be somewhere. I also feel like I've done a bad job of opening up, like, these warp pots, partly because we're not really going back through dungeons ever. But again, there is actually, there are actually situations where that might be helpful, mainly because there is an option in the randomizer to make it so that a warp pot will take you between areas, like between dungeons, so you don't have to manually travel between each one. That's the kind of thing that, in my opinion, would probably be more helpful in a key sanity run than a vanilla run, just on the nature of, like... What am I trying to say? Based on the nature of, like, trying to, basically have to go back and forth between dungeons, to carry the keys, which would be a lot more work. But again, this could be a little bit finicky just from the standpoint of we can basically open up the lower floor right away. So hypothetically, we might have to go out of order. For example, a key we need might be down here, and then we'll have to come back up later on. So again, this might be a little bit out of order. I would not be surprised whatsoever if this is a bit of a mess, in terms of trying to navigate. Again, I'm not gonna go down there right away, just on the assumption that, we do have to go somewhat in order, but I am keeping the option in mind that we might have to go out of order. This is the room I was talking about earlier, where there is actually, there's stuff that you basically have to do, with the mirror shield, but you have to come back for an item later on. So like up here, you can make this first chest appear using Medley, but for the actual item in the next room, you would need to come back because both need to have some way to reflect, and you don't get the mirror shield until much later into the dungeon. So again, it is kind of neat being able to like skip around dungeons a little bit, kind of go out of order. Not too much, though. Well, that's good, I suppose. We have 2 keys, the dungeon map, and the compass left of required checks for us. But again, this is why you actually do need the mirror shield specifically for this, and you can't have Medley get this for you. Again, this is a fairly late check, to be honest. I'm gonna open that later. I want to make sure I can find this one, because again, this might be an important one. Alright, with that, Medley should be back by the entrance, but we also have Floor Masters now to contend with. Again, I just find them really annoying to fight more than anything. It's not even that I find them, like, scary. Like, I find the, what am I trying to say? I find the, Ocarina of Time version to be scarier, but I actually think the, Wind Waker version is a lot more annoying. If that makes sense. This is weird. I am trying to quickly at a glance figure out what check that was. Because I'm looking at this list. Chest behind destructible walls, that could be it, I suppose. That does technically count as a destructible wall, but normally when I hear destructible wall, I think bombs. So that just might be a misconception on my part, in all fairness. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, actually. You can also kind of just do this, I suppose. I wonder if this actually works. I've never tried this. For some reason, I've never, thought to attempt this before. They might unfreeze by the time we get over there. Actually, it doesn't seem like it, so that is a strat, I suppose. Again, never attempted that before. Alrighty, push this down. Also, it moved off the switch, so they actually can't get to us now. I think this both works as a shortcut and as a switch to open the door, so that's very helpful. So yeah, I'm just gonna assume when they say chest behind destructible walls, it means the mirror shield one. It also says you need the skull hammer for that, so that would lend credence to that assumption. But again, I just find them really frustrating to fight more than anything. Because sometimes they can pull you into the darkness very quickly, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Chest in 3 blocks room, I assume that's this room here. It's so much nicer not having to switch to Medley, like, constantly. It's interesting, because Medley, I think, is a very fun character, but I just feel like the mechanics of both dungeons of the later two, where you have to switch back and forth between them constantly, just ends up feeling a little bit repetitive after a while. Especially because, like, in GameCube, they don't skip the full cutscene, if I recall correctly. So, for example, in HD, and I think this mod does it too, when you play the command melody, as an example, it won't show Link playing it a second time, it'll just immediately cut to the animation of swapping characters. So, because of that little shortcut, it is a lot more tolerable later on. But especially on GameCube, and my first playthrough was GameCube, it's very frustrating having to just sit through a full animation of the song like 50 million times. This is definitely something where I feel like I wonder if a remake could fix this. Like, a full remake, not just a remaster. Like, if you could, set it up in such a way that you actually don't have to, switch via song, and there's some other, like, just a key, basically. I feel like that would make this a lot more, doable, or tolerable at the very least, but I also feel like that might make it a little too easy, actually. So we got the Hurricane Spin. That's not, like, the most helpful thing, but it is kind of nice in some situations. I've been saying it this entire time, but again, we can kind of circumvent having to switch to Medley, because we already have the shield. And again, I think there is something that you can open up with Medley and Link together, that would normally come a little bit later, but we can do right away. I'm gonna take out the pose first, just for the sake of not having as much to hassle with later on. Alright, so far so good. We have a couple of required items, a treasure chart, and the Hurricane Spin. So, at least so far, it does feel like this is a very productive area. Maybe all the really good stuff is hidden in the last 2 dungeons. That would not shock me, knowing my luck usually with, everything, basically. So, to open this up, I think we do actually have to switch back to Medley for once. Again, it is nice not having to do this quite as often. But again, typically in Wind Waker proper, it would show Link playing the song in full, basically, every time you actually play that song. So having it set up that it will just automatically cut to switching to Medley does speed this up considerably. Alright, so we have this little setup here. Do we actually need Medley again? I think we do. So, can this actually reach her from here? I genuinely don't have an answer to this question. It can, that's very convenient, actually. So, I want the beam of light... Oh, this is a bad position for me to have stood in, for this set piece. Hi, welcome. This is me being lazy, I need to move out of the way, like so. Hope you're having an alright day, hope everyone's doing well. Again, this is probably gonna be a very low-key, stream today. Alright, about there, and then I need to go over and break this wall. Like so. This is very difficult, actually. This is not required for anything, I forgot. Alright, we're going completely out of order at this point. Wait, this is the shortcut back over here, so this is where we go after finishing up the next area. So instead, we need to go... I mean, there are a few statues to break here. Hope you're having a good day. I am having an okay day, I think, so far. So far so good, at least. Productive. I had to wake up a lot earlier than normal for a blood test, so that's part of the reason I'm streaming today, is because I'm actually on time for once. But beyond that, it's been going alright so far. No major complaints. Alright, so we have a little bit of an awkward situation here. That door's locked, which means we need to actually go out of order. We need to go to the basement first. I really need to start waking up earlier, period, to be fair. I really need to fix my sleep schedule, but that is easier said than done sometimes. Again, it is actually kind of fun having to go out of order in the dungeon, so we're having to go to the end first. In order to get a key. I wonder how easy it is to actually soft lock one of these. For example, if you end up using the key on the door that doesn't lead to another key. I'm sure they have to put in protections for that. In the regular game too, but especially in the randomizer, where that could definitely present a problem. You should too, but late night Fortnite is fun. Fortnite is fun, and new season's starting up soon, so I'm looking forward to that in about a week. Though, Monday's gonna be busy for me next week too, so I don't know how much I'll be able to play on day 1 of Season 6, to be honest. I don't know why I'm collecting all this stuff, I don't need rupees anymore. Also, we only have one bomb upgrade so far. We're still at default number of bombs, which is just weird, because we have so much other stuff, but we are still just dealing with 30 bombs. I'm trying to think of anything that really needs bombs, though. So, we can actually go back to the other area and proceed there, hypothetically. I actually don't think I will, just because that's gonna take a bit. I think I'm gonna press forward a little bit, and wing it from there. At the very least, if we get through all the stuff that requires Medley, we can just kind of leave her behind, basically, and not have to worry about her keeping up with us as much. Down, down, neutral. Right, left, neutral. Down, down, neutral. I almost immediately slipped into fighting game terms of like, you know, that would be 2, 2, 5, 6, 4, 5. Which is a way to actually denote that, but I don't feel like that would be the easiest or most instinctive way to describe that beyond like me being a fighting game player. I've been labbing so much lately, and I don't know how to feel about it, because I'm like, I can't remember the last time I've been this invested in a fighting game, and it's always because of a low tier. It feels like I have traditionally not had the best luck with tiers in fighting games, and this is definitely the case here. Just press random numbers, that's fair. Yeah, looking into everybody's Drive tier lists at the moment going into Season 4, Dizzy is low tier, which is kind of what I expected, actually, knowing my luck, but again, we'll have to see how that progresses as time moves on. Alright, so we have 2 pathways there. We can actually just go through the door, but I'm a little bit nervous, because I don't know which door is gonna have the key. And again, I'm a little bit nervous that we'll end up soft locking the dungeon. So just to be on the safe side, I don't know if this is even possible, but just there on the side of caution, I am going to save here. And proceed onwards. I also don't know if it's a smart move bringing Medley along. It probably is a terrible decision. I can't use my sword here. I forgot that's how this area works. This is a predicament, actually. This might be dumb, but we'll see if it works out. Yep, that was dumb. Okay. Actually, the hand just threw Medley, which is very convenient for me. Yeah, that actually worked out very nicely, and I don't feel like I should have gotten away with that, to be honest. Alright, so we can activate this mirror here, and the corresponding beam of light. Is this actually the first Zelda game? No, wait, it would be Ocarina. Ocarina of Time has the Megaton Hammer. Again, I don't really like Ocarina of Time as the inherent dilemma of, like, not being able to remember if something's an Ocarina or a different game. It's not even because it's, like, a bad game or anything. I just find it kind of, like, what's the word? A little bit uninteresting, I suppose. Mostly because I played all these games very out of order. You're not supposed to actually go in this room with Medley, I'm pretty sure. I definitely should not have been impatient. What even is through the other side, actually? This crypt area. Okay. There's a couple checks here, I think. There's one at the end. You think Ocarina of Time is bad? Also, don't you typically dislike N64 games? Well, we don't have to worry about soft locking anymore. We have both keys now that we need to get through here. So we're good to go there. But there's one more chest as well. The thing is, I actually really love Majora's Mask. That's probably my second favorite traditional 2D, or traditional 3D Zelda. And in some ways, I actually think I like Majora's Mask more than Wind Waker. Which is, like, the irony of not liking Ocarina of Time very much, but also really liking Majora's Mask. And again, this was OG, by the way. I did play Majora's Mask on N64 first, because I didn't... well, this was before Majora's Mask 3D, actually. So yeah, I genuinely really like Majora's Mask a lot, so there's that irony to it. Ocarina of Time, to me, just kind of feels like 3D A Link to the Past, while Majora's Mask has more unique things going for it. In general, I wish more games weren't set in Hyrule. And now I'm trying to think, actually. Wind Waker sort of counts on a technicality. Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, well, that's kind of a weird exception because New Hyrule. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to actually think about, because most most games are set in some version of Hyrule, but I actually wish more weren't, just because I think it'd be interesting to move away from the traditional, like, settings. You know, Lanayru, Eldin, Farron, and so on. It'd be kind of interesting to just go on to, like, a totally new setting at some point. And I do hope that eventually we get something new in that regard, because, again, it feels like we've been spending a lot of games in just the same, like, two worlds, which are Breath of the Wild's Hyrule and A Link to the Past's Hyrule. Which isn't even, like, inherently a bad thing, obviously, but, it does make things feel a little bit more, samey, I think, when we have very similar map layouts between games. Though again, I'm someone who also got horribly lost in Tears of the Kingdom, because it turns out my, object permanence, or lack thereof, kind of kicks in, just from the standpoint of if you take a room and then, like, flip it around a little bit, I have no clue where I actually am. So, for example, in Breath of the Wild, if you start from a particular area, in this case, Great Plateau, and then try to actually navigate to an area, it, to me, feels really different than trying to go from Hyrule Castle to another area, which again, might just be down to me having really bad object permanence. You can't even attribute this to playing Breath of the Wild a long time before, actually, because I played Tears of the Kingdom, I played Breath of the Wild, again, before Tears of the Kingdom came out, so it's not even that it had been a long time. I literally played these games, like, back-to-back. Somehow I didn't really burn out as badly on Tears as, frankly, a lot of people did. I still very thoroughly enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom, despite having literally just played Breath of the Wild. And I don't know what that says about me, to be honest, my ability to just kind of, like, vibe with open worlds. But I do really enjoy both games quite a bit. I don't know which I'd say I like more, just because both have, like, strengths and weaknesses in different areas. The weird dynamic that I often talk about, or often think about with these two games is story. Breath of the Wild, I think, is a worse story told better. I don't know if that makes any sense. But that is my opinion on both games' stories. I think Tears of the Kingdom has a much more interesting story, partly because it's more guided in terms of, like, having an overall narrative, but basically I think the delivery of the story is actually worse than Breath of the Wild's, even though it is a better story. So again, kind of an odd caveat there, but that is my genuine take on the stories of both games. Mostly because, like, Tears of the Kingdom kind of repeats information a lot more, while Breath of the Wild, like, when you finish a dungeon in Breath of the Wild, you get a very personalized cutscene to that champion, while with Tears of the Kingdom, basically all of the major dungeon cutscenes kind of just boil down to an info dump a little bit, to the point where I feel like, they're a little bit redundant after a while, and that is, like, the main complaint I have seen about the story of Tears of the Kingdom, is just having to basically sit through an info dump 4 times. Yeah, in general, though, I think Tears of the Kingdom does have a more promising story on, like, face value, but again, just that little bit is a little bit redundant. Again, if we had gotten... And also, like, the champions not having, like, any personality or even, like, visible faces because they're just wearing masks all the time. I almost feel like that's a missed opportunity to not have, like, actual definable champions. Weirdly enough, I actually really liked Echoes of Wisdom in a lot of ways in terms of storytelling, in that it was a little bit more guided than Breath of the Wild, but also more open than most Zelda games. So I would almost argue it's less open in some ways than A Link Between Worlds, oddly enough. A lot of times with Zelda games, I feel like they're kind of experimental in that they're basically laying down foundation work for other projects. So for Echoes of Wisdom, as an example, I almost feel like, as fun as the mechanics are in Echoes of Wisdom, it almost feels like they just kind of expanded on A Link to the Past slash A Link Between Worlds world, because they just were experimenting with the mechanics and wanted to use an existing level layout and expand on it in order to like focus more on the actual mechanic work. And I feel like that's the same way with Tears of the Kingdom as well, where reusing the map from Breath of the Wild is partly just because so much work was going into reworking all the mechanics that they also wouldn't have had time to make an entirely new like world, so they just kind of slapped it onto this existing setting, which I do feel like there are pros and cons in both ways. Again, as someone who did really enjoy Tears of the Kingdom, I do get the arguments of the world not feeling as special because we've seen it before. But still, I very much enjoyed both games, and I can't wait for the next Zelda game in like 2029 or whenever. Probably like 2029. That feels like a reasonable guess. Because Zelda games usually take about 5 to 6 years. So yeah, I think that's not, unheard of. But again, I am very curious, like, what they'll try in terms of a direction. Like, art style even could be vastly different than before. This was a mistake, because now all the Redeads are back and I have to fight them again. So I definitely didn't plan this out as well as I should have. But again, we did actually have to backtrack eventually to check that chest, even though it was just the compass. Again, there's no way of knowing it was just the compass. I guess there would be. Now that I think about it, what you could end up doing is basically... That's not what I meant to do. Oh, did I completely do this wrong, actually? You just use those to break the statue. I guess I'm kind of going on autopilot a little bit and not fully paying attention here. So we cleaned out floor 1, and we're still missing a couple on basement 1, and we haven't even gone to basement 2 yet, so... In general, though, I do think at this point Zelda is probably one of my favorite series, which is interesting, because I didn't really grow up with it in the traditional sense. More so, like, I played this game when I was, like, a teenager, which I feel like a little bit later than most. So it does have the very unique dynamic of, like, not having as much inherent nostalgia for it, as others would potentially have. I should have taken out that enemy, actually. Okay, that would have been a tutorial at the very beginning of this dungeon. I don't know why it's playing now, of all times, in the middle of a fight, but, thanks, I guess. Again, the joys of doing things vastly out of order. I feel like Minish Cap doesn't really need a port from the standpoint of it's on NSO, and also because it's, like, built around a very specific style, where it's like, if you just make Wind Waker, but 2D, which I guess would also apply to Phantom Hourglass as well, I don't feel like it would hit quite the same as, like, that 2D art style. And Four Swords Adventure, I think, is interesting, but I also don't remember enough about it to know how I feel about it. It's been a long time since I've done a full playthrough of either, actually. It's on NSO, for Minish Cap at least, so I might try to play that at some point. You want more Minish Cap? That's fair. Who would even actually make it? I guess it would be Grezzo. They're the standard 2D Zelda studio, but I guess also on the other hand, like, the company that made Minish Cap isn't even around anymore. It was actually like a joint venture of a bunch of other studios, like Capcom and Bandai, I think. And maybe just Capcom, I don't remember. Like the exact specifics of it. But either way, there is the unique dynamic of, Okay, that was disconcerting. There's a unique dynamic of like a bunch of games were done by this like subsidiary. There were a couple of Kirby games even. Amazing Mirror and Squeak Squad, I think, were done by this studio. It's really hard to talk about all this, like, lore while also struggling with a hallway full of redeads. I'm just gonna leave Medley here. I'm not even gonna bring her into this room. I don't need to juggle more at the moment, to be totally honest. Yeah, Flagship. And they also did the Oracle games, too. I have a lot of nostalgia for Squeak Squad. That is... Oh wait, we actually do need to take Medley to this room. Wait a minute. 1F. What room are we missing up there? We have everything, right? We have the dungeon map. We have the compass. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, I could have sworn there was another room here. And there is another room on floor 1. I'm like, there's no treasure there, though. Oh, so we also got this already. Casket and Second Crypt? I don't know if we got that, but again, just going off the list, it's like there are only so many treasures to potentially find here. I'm gonna do something really quickly. I'm just gonna basically take Medley to the next room and leave her here. And we'll come back for her later, because my curiosity is out of control right now. I really want to see what's in that room. To be fair, that's actually something that got ported over from Nightmare in Dreamland first, which was what Amazing Mirror was like built off of, so it's sort of not their fault. It was just they went back to the Kirby's Adventure system for the remake and just kind of stuck with it for the next several games after that, which I also would disagree with that decision, in all fairness. I want more Kirby games in general, but that is a problem right now because the support studio for HAL was shut down recently, and I don't know if it's been a case of like absorbing talent in, but basically there was a bunch of companies that spun off of one major company. I think it was Punchline was the original. Whatever studio did Moon Remix RPG, or whatever the full title of that game is, basically it broke off into a bunch of studios. One did Tulip on PS2, one was Skip that ended up doing Chibi Robo, and one was Vanpool that did a bunch of smaller titles, but also did like support work for Kirby for a long time. Yeah, I never actually went into this room over here. Completely slipped my mind for some reason. Also, I don't think there's actually a treasure here, but there is actually a check. So that's on me. I almost forgot something. This could be something really important too, so this was a terrible miscalculation based on the size of this room. It says second casket and second crypt. I actually don't know which one is the... Okay, it's just a chew jelly. That is extraordinarily not worth it. Now we have to fight a bunch of redeads. So yeah, we really could have just skipped this all along, as it turns out. But hey, you never know. Yeah, I really like Forgotten Land. I would recommend that one. Star Allies is very hit and miss for people. Some people really love Star Allies. A lot of people think it's very mid. And I tend to be more of a defender of Star Allies, though I also would say it's also not one of the better Kirby games, even as someone who did like it. Like, if you were to ask me to rank Kirby games, Star Allies would be very, like, low mid. But I still enjoyed it, basically, is my overall stance on it. It's like a very 7 out of 10 game in my opinion, even as someone who has, again, defended it quite a bit. I do think that game gets a little bit of a bad reputation. It's just very basic because it's designed for the four-player system, so I do feel like some of the mechanics are kind of toned down a bit from other Kirby games. But then you get to like the True Arena, or whatever it's called. I don't even know what the hell it's called in that game. Ultimate Test, I think. And that's like really difficult, because of course it is. It's a Kirby game. The hardest content is always relegated to post-game. Ultimate Choice, I don't remember for sure. I really enjoyed Forgotten Land though. It has big Mario 3D World energy, to be honest. I cheesed it, I'm gonna be totally blunt. I just used Stone, for the most part, to get through all that in Star Allies. I could not be bothered to actually, like, get really good at the mechanics, so I just used Stone and, like, a bunch of Dream Friends. And that's how I beat that, True Arena. I also didn't know at the time that damage scaling is a problem, so that would have helped a little bit probably, if I'd actually like understood that having all these allies is actually making it harder, because that means the enemies have more health. But I had no idea that's how that worked. The other problem with Star Allies is it was just kind of seen as a regression in some ways, because all the other Kirby games on 3DS were quote-unquote 60 FPS. This is definitely one of those, like, revisionist history kind of things, in my opinion. That game is not 60 FPS. Robobot and Triple Deluxe drop frames quite a bit, I think. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think locking to 60 or locking to 30 was the right call, and I wish actually Link's Awakening Remake and Echoes of Wisdom and also Mario RPG Remake had done that, because I think all those games were not close enough to 60 to justify massive dips. So yeah, I kind of wish all those games had been capped, but again, at this point, whenever a game comes out with an uncapped frame rate at this point, like Echoes and Mario RPG Remake, the overall assumption right now is just they're basically waiting for Switch 2, and again, we'll have to see if that actually pans out or not. Otherwise, it'll be really weird if the performance is still just limited to Switch 1 specs, in my opinion. But you never know with Nintendo, for better or worse. They'll always keep you on your toes, as a company. This is like the worst room in the game, in my opinion. Not in the game, but of this temple. I just find this really tedious to set up, but again, that kind of comes down to what I was talking about earlier, where in the GameCube version, you have to sit through a lot more cutscenes, if I remember correctly. I might actually be completely off base now that I'm thinking about it. Like, the Command Melody cutscene might only play at certain scenes, but not as frequently as I remember it being. Again, this is going off of like very old memories, because it's been like a long time, and now I'm trying to actually figure out how long it's been. Well, the remaster was 2013. Oh hey, another NSO announcement. Just like I have notifications turned on for Nintendo's channel, so I just saw that pop up. So well, that answers one question that had been going around for a bit. I'm just waiting on DK94 because I've never played it in full. I think I only played it a tiny little bit once and never actually finished it. But I like Mario vs. DK, so I'd be curious. Is this not movable? I don't know what was happening there. I'm not really fully paying attention, I think. Which again, I fully expected. I knew going in this would be a very, like, no thoughts, head empty kind of stream. Alright, so that's all set up now. So now we have to work on the other side of the room. So that's in place. I don't know how to feel about this temple in general. Like, again, I almost feel like as much as I also really love Wind Waker, I can also fully concede that there's a lot in Wind Waker I'm, like, not really a big fan of, oddly enough. Where it's like, yeah, I really love this game, but also this particular part, kinda sucks. And I feel like I keep doing that this entire playthrough. And this isn't even the vanilla game. I don't know how much I would complain about this if I had to do it, like, straight through, the way it was intended. At some point, I probably will do a Wind Waker playthrough, though, in all fairness. I just have no clue when, to be honest. It'd probably be HD. My biggest issue right now is I'm afraid of my Wii U dying. It's, old. It's, like, literally a launch day model, and it's going strong. But I am a little bit worried, because so many other people's Wii U's are breaking recently. Happened for the last, like, year or two, so I feel like I've lucked out in terms of my Wii U still going strong, but again, I don't really want to jinx that. Speaking of which, I should probably save. I am running this actually through a Wii U. There are ways to run GameCube games on Wii U because a lot of the hardware is still intact. For the sake of, like, video quality, it just looks a lot cleaner than running it through, like, you know, a GameCube with, like, S-Video. Alright, Silver Rupee. Not really worth it, in my opinion, for all the work that we have to go to get that all set up. But again, we have to do that anyway for the next couple of checks. Many Mirrors room right and left are done. Next, we have this crypt here, with 3 Stalfos. Yeah, as always, I hope everyone's having an alright day. My day has been going relatively smoothly, I would say. Alright, that's not really what I wanted to happen right there, but that's fine. You can also hookshot the, Stalfos too, but it's a little bit finicky, so I'm not really, like, going after that, just because it's a lot of work to try to aim a shot like that. This is, like, one of the worst fights in the game, in my opinion, just because fighting Stalfos is kind of annoying anyway, and then when you have to fight them in a group, it just kind of devolves very quickly. That might be close enough. Actually, no. Again, bombs instantly destroy the bodies, but you do have to actually, worry about then actually defeating the head of the Stalfos, so that is easier said than done, most of the time. Hopefully the crystals will restock our supplies in a bit as well, because we are running low on a lot of things at the moment. That was a very bad Stalfos fight. One bomb actually took out one of the 2, so that was good, but group encounters I almost feel like are the weakness of a lot of Zelda games, actually, just because Z-targeting is great against one-on-one opponents, but I almost feel like it falls apart very quickly when you have a group and you're trying to, like, frantically switch lock-on targets. So yeah, all stocked up again, thankfully, so no harm done. Actually, I'm a quarter heart short. That's not a big deal, but just, you know, wish I'd gone back to full hearts. I didn't really think that through very well. Stalfos Crypt, but there's also, it says chest and 3rd crypt. I don't remember getting that, to be honest. Big key chest and 3rd crypt. I mean, I must have gotten it. We've opened up all the other chests or other, like, checks, so that's gotta be it. So yeah, I have no clue where that would be. Also, I wasn't paying attention whatsoever to what the item was. So that's probably not the best thing, in all fairness. Alright, so we have to open up the big chest room. Again, I hope I'm not forgetting something really major in the dungeon. Just because I'm, like, rushing through. And, like, there are some things that are not, like, actually chests. They're just sitting out in the open. And I'm really hoping I didn't forget anything like that. Because then we'll have to come back here later on, and that will not be fun. Yeah, it's like chest and third crypt versus Stalfos crypt. I'm like, what is the third crypt then? Also, I didn't finish setting this up. Like, wow, I'm out of it today. That is in place, okay. Well, as far as I can go there. This is cool. Again, I just feel like the command melody is a little bit of a clunky way to actually handle this mechanic. Part of me also wishes there was actually a full temple with Tetra, for example, since there is a follow mechanic. I almost wish they had done something like that with Tetra. Actually, we'll just leave her there, because we have to fight a Darknet anyway. This should be the big key chest. This is a gross-looking room. We have so much to deal with here. And I want to say arrows don't work on the blue bubbles. They only work on the red. So the best strategy is to, like, hookshot, I think. Alright. One down, or two down, one to go, and that should take care of it, right? I hope. So yeah, we'll see what's in the big key chest, and then we will be able to move on. Again, we got all the chests at least. So there's that. Submarine chart, that is completely useless at this point. I think we've gotten every submarine already. And with that, all that's left is to fight the boss. But I'm gonna be, leaving Medley in this room. Actually, no, she warps back up. We don't have to leave her behind. But she won't even come into the boss room anyway, so I'm kind of tempted to just leave her here, and then we'll proceed, without her for now. She'll catch up at the end, which is a very nice mechanic that you do not actually have to take, the character all the way through the dungeon in full. I hate this room, by the way, and it's not even anything particularly bad, it's just climbing takes a long time. Wind Waker HD, I think, keeps the climbing speed the same, but Twilight Princess HD actually speeds up climbing a fair amount. Actually, this feels faster than Wind Waker normally, so I don't know if the randomizer at least speeds it up. Again, this is just one of those rooms that can take forever to get through, and again, trying to get Medley back up to the top of this area requires switching over to her and flying up, and that just would add a lot of time. So we're just gonna forego that and glide across. I do like the design of the boss gates in Wind Waker, how it's like an eye. I feel like that's a very nice detail. Like, it actually reminds me a little bit of, Vati, design-wise. Also, like, Zero, too, from Kirby. Or just Zero in general, from Kirby. Alright, so we have Jalhala next. I feel like this fight can go really well or really poorly. So we'll have to see which one it is this time. The other thing is, we luckily did get the Hurricane Spin right before this dungeon. Or actually, I think in the dungeon. So we can actually Hurricane Spin, which is very lovely, because that will help us in our ability to take out a lot of these smaller Poes and just immediately get through a cycle really quickly, instead of having to, like, manually hunt down each one. Again, if we didn't have the Hurricane Spin, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It would definitely be a little bit annoying, though. Just gonna tank a hit on purpose to skip that attack cycle. I say on purpose, but that, you know, I was trying to basically get to the light before he attacked. I was a little bit too slow, but again, that interrupts the attack is very helpful nonetheless. Alright, so another really clean cycle. There's only 4 left, so we'll have to see if we can finish this up in one more cycle. You know, another question that comes to mind is what do speedrunners want to see in a seed? Like, which are the areas that speedrunners like to do and don't like to do for the sake of, like, completing, like, races, completing randomizers, like, quickly? Like, I'm sure there's gotta be some locations in, like, Zelda that are a lot more annoying to have mandatory versus others. Hey, nice. 3 cycle. I think that's as good as you can get. I do feel like we were being capped, it wasn't like a timer, so that was a pretty clean fight. I have a feeling we'll not get anything particularly worthwhile, personally, from this, but hey, we can say we've cleared out another dungeon, at the very least. It is a silver rupee. Yeah, that was arguably not really worth the effort put in, but oh well. Again, it's sometimes good to just have curiosity sated. But again, that we have the mirror shield, and again, based on what I saw, very quickly glancing at the spoiler log, it does make me wonder if anything here was actually required. We still don't have the Wind God's Arya, so our options in the Wind Temple are still very limited. This might not be doable in one more stream. I was hoping it would be, but it might take one more after this. Alright, so I have a theory. We'll have to see if this theory is correct. Which treasure chart did we get? It looks like it was in the 20s. Number 22. 3 treasure charts left. This one goes to Spectacle Island, which is actually a place we could go do a bunch of stuff in anyway, I think. No, Spectacle Island is the one by Windfall. So yeah, there's a couple of options we have. One is to go straight to looking for treasure charts and trying to clean up items there. There's not a whole lot left, to be fair, so it probably wouldn't take too long. The other option is to try and hit up the Wind Temple and hope we can actually get enough there to finish up this seed. But again, what are we, an hour and 16 minutes in to this stream? It'll probably take a little bit. So yeah, I have a theory that this could be important. But if not, then I'll be very confused as to why the check is the way it is. Again, I always forgot to put that in, but heat pump? I don't know, my voice is kind of shot at the moment. Heat from fire, fire from heat. I don't think that was particularly good, because I'm like having a lot of breathing problems, to be totally honest. Alright, let's see if my assumption is correct, and the Earth Temple is tied to something important, and the Mirror Shield in general. I feel like this is the last thing that really is tied to that, right? And it's a golden feather, so I might be completely off base unless there's something else requiring the Mirror Shield that I'm completely spacing out on, which, in all fairness, I'm not ruling out that possibility. That is definitely a likelihood. Or maybe it's just like showing key items in general, not even things that are required to finish the seed. I should add more point redeems, but I just kind of feel like I'm trying to think of something that fits me, and I'm struggling to be blunt. I guess I'm just kind of like, not sure what makes sense. Especially because of like pricing. That's the main thing I'm struggling with is pricing, partly just because it kind of feels like I stream at hours where people are preoccupied, to be honest. So it's like, I don't know how many points everybody has in the first place. Alright, so we are going to go around the world, and try to look for treasure charts. At least that's my current plan. Basically, my hope is that one of these will have either the light arrows, which means we'll just be done, or specifically the wind god's aria, so we can actually just, you know, beeline towards, the, wind temple and try to knock that out really quickly. That was a really unfortunately timed barrel, as now I have to, like, slowly sail out to where this treasure was. This doesn't... oh, never mind, it was just a longer wait for some reason. Yeah, if we actually finish up the seed tonight, which is my hope, we still have like an hour and a half left, so there is a possibility of getting through this in that time. I do have plans for what I want to stream next, though I don't think I actually want to reveal them yet. But again, I have something in mind. I never actually marked this on the checklist. It says we got it though, North Fairy Island, so I will trust the game over the tracker in this instance. I just guess I forgot to mark that. It has been interesting, actually, trying to come up with games to stream, partly because at this point I feel like my stamina isn't the best for streaming, so I've been trying to stick with relatively short games, as in, like, things I can finish in maybe 5 streams at most, especially because of, like, last couple weeks I've missed a bunch of streams. At some point, part of me wants to do, like, well, now a week, where I have to, like, just do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to make up for the days I missed, basically. And hopefully not miss this Wednesday, but again, I might take the rest of this week off just to recuperate a little bit and focus on some other things. Again, like, right now, one thing I need to actually work on quite a bit is editing all of the Wind Waker streams into highlights, which is very time-consuming, actually. There's a lot of downtime in randomizers where you're just kind of going from one check to the other, and it takes a bit to head over to. So yeah, definitely have some things in the works. No clue when they will be revealed. I also need to ask someone if they are up for something, actually. I thought of a co-op game to do with someone, but I just need to, actually remember to DM them about it. Just pull the bandage off and stream a game you've wanted to for a while, but if you're not feeling it, that's fine. Yeah, that's fair. That's kind of my overall feeling. Like, there are a lot of games that are on my short list of games I want to stream, but the inherent problem is, I have not been feeling the best the last, you know, month, primarily, so I almost feel like, I don't really want to play, like, Paper Mario, or even Mario and Luigi, which I argue I like less, personally. I kind of went through it the other day, and kind of hit the opinion that I'm, like, way more into Paper Mario, of the two franchises. Even though I actually think in some ways the Mario and Luigi games are like better RPGs, I just feel like a lot of the Paper Mario games have more charm to them. And that kind of carries some of the games that I feel like have more like objective weaknesses, if that makes sense. We got Gale Isle, so next up is Treasure Chart 11. It would be probably all of them, actually. except Sticker Star, because I don't have a way to reliably capture 3DS. And this is actually my genuine reason, is not the elephant in the room. I would actually stream Sticker Star if I had the capability to, because I actually think the game is overhated, and I actually think it's mildly enjoyable at best, even though I don't think it's like the most amazing game by any stretch. It's still like very underwhelming compared to the other Mario or Paper Mario games in my opinion, but again, I would still argue I think it's overhated, and I would be curious to revisit it because it's been since launch was the last time I actually played it. There is actually one more check tied to the Earth Temple, which would make the Mirror Shield a requirement, and that is the letter from Baito after delivering the letter to his mom and defeating Valhalla. So that is our last chance of the Mirror Shield actually being required for something. Triforce Chart 7. This is a weird arrangement to try to figure out where the park. There's not a lot of like landmarks to go off of here, so I think I overshot it actually. Luckily we got it before the Kargarok started giving us hell. Again, Triforce charts are set to on, so this could be important, or it could be nothing. It's a yellow rupee. That is a definite downgrade from the Triforce. Yeah, I feel like it is my least favorite Paper Mario, but it is like not horrible in my opinion. It's just, I'd give it like a 6 out of 10 personally, but people treat it like a 1 out of 10. But then again, like my least favorite game of all time is Star Ocean: The Last Hope for PS3. Last Hope International did have extra content, but I actually just genuinely dislike that game, mostly because of its story. If you ask a Star Ocean fan why they don't like Star Ocean: The Last Hope, I'm pretty sure everyone will give you the same answer. There's one very specific story beat that comes up a lot, and there it is. So the Mirror Shield was required. It was in the last possible place we checked that is connected to the Mirror Shield. Alright, so that means we are done here, actually. We don't have to do anything else. So we'll just hop over to the King of Red Lions and proceed to the end game. On one hand, I wish I had thought to check the spoiler in a different way. What did that say, actually? That was not the normal warp text. I'm like, what did that actually say? It looked like it was just some random other dialogue about, like, something else. So now I'm curious. You got the hero's new clothes. What the? Wow, they're really light. So yeah, just kind of junk text, basically. Yeah, a lot of times games that are objectively awful, I actually find more interesting in some ways. So again, the game I always go to is Sonic 06, which I actually would play over a game like Sonic Forces, just because I find Sonic 06 just a very interesting game, even though it is objectively very flawed. Alright, now that we have the light arrows, what will happen here? Because we kind of have a problem. Do we have to go through the maze again? Because we tried to go through it, and it didn't really result in anything. And also Phantom Ganon. Never mind, he's just here. So we can just do this. Alright, so that's nice. I was afraid we'd have to go through the entire maze again, but luckily that's all we have to do. Pick this up, toss it at the wall. You're probably intended to just hit it with the sword, but I always end up throwing it. I just think it's funnier that way. We didn't actually get any extra bottles, which is kind of unfortunate. I kind of wish I had more magic. Especially because we need a lot of magic for the puppet Ganon fight. Also, one thing worth noting is, to my knowledge at least, you can actually fight all of the dungeon bosses again. Like, you can actually go through the little mini dungeons to the bosses at any time. Like, even if you've already done them, to my knowledge. Which actually means, you can straight up, like, get the photos even after you've defeated the bosses, which is really nice. Again, there are very few missable photos. A lot of them end up being mini-bosses, like a very specific Wizrobe variant in the Wind Temple. I think a very specific Dark Nut in one of the temples. So yeah, in general, mini-bosses are more missable than anything else, which is kind of unfortunate, actually, just because if you miss one, then you really do have to just go through New Game Plus again. Hero mode is also harder. They basically, move, like, checks, like the treasures in treasure charts, like, farther to the edge of the island, making it harder to actually see where you're supposed to go. It's really not a big difference. It's very small in the grand scheme of things, but it is a difference. And we'll just speed this up, actually, since I forgot you had to actually fight all the enemies here. There we go. So, I assume we will have to fight Puppet Ganon, which luckily isn't too difficult of a fight. But I am a little bit worried, because again, I'm having trouble with the controls lately, in terms of aiming with the analog stick. This is a problem with a lot of games when you try to run them on, like, different controllers, where, like, the dead zones are set in such a way that, they don't, like, they don't correspond correctly to the point where aiming can be a little bit tricky, so we'll have to see how this goes. If we even have to fight Puppet Ganon, as we do. So we need the boomerang, for sure. Cut down the ropes, and then try to hit the tail. You can actually just, like, straight up hit the tail anyway. I don't think I'm good enough of a shot to pull that off, especially with him, like, wiggling around like this. So we'll just, like, wing it and do the fight the intended way. This is a cool fight in my opinion. It's just kind of annoying at times. I should save because we got the light arrows finally. Again, I meant to do this playthrough completely, you know, unspoiled, but again, I just happened to see that in passing, which again, we would have needed to find out eventually that we needed to actually get the Mirror Shield, but again, the biggest issue is I wish I hadn't seen that it was the Mirror Shield, because that basically tells me, oh, it's something tied to the Earth Temple. Because there's only so many options for Mirror Shield checks in this game. I'm glad I remembered the letter was tied to Chalhala, because that also sped things up, otherwise we would have checked like every sea chart. Hi, what's up? Alright, what am I doing? I'm not that good of a shot here. Can you take a picture with Ganon? There's no selfie mode in Wind Waker Original. That's only in HD. So yeah, there's no selfie mode. A lot of people like ray tracing, and I won't argue with that, because I think ray tracing looks really nice. But I also feel like screen space reflections are very underrated at times. Like, you can do a lot with SSR. And a lot of times I almost do feel like ray tracing is just a really, like, expensive crutch to get better lighting, which does make it easier and all for it. Maybe crutch is too harsh of a word, but more like, you know, ray tracing costs a lot of resources like GPU and CPU to run properly, and I almost feel like, you know, just really well-crafted screen space reflections can often get the job done, depending on the game, and in general, I think ray tracing is something that, like, if I'm given the option between 60 FPS and 30 FPS, as long as it's a stable 60 FPS, I would rather just play a game without ray tracing if it meant getting better performance. Like, if I have to sacrifice one for the other, I would gladly give up ray tracing of the two. Another good example of that actually is Spider-Man. They have like a performance ray tracing mode at least, so it's obviously not as stable or as like high quality of ray tracing, but it is like a nice compromise to have some level of ray tracing still mixed in with 60 FPS. Yeah, if it was like 60, yeah, like Spider-Man's a great example. If it's 60 with ray tracing, I'll gladly take that over standard performance mode, which would be 120, I think, if you have like a TV that supports it. Also, hi AC. Yeah, Gran Turismo 7 is just like Polyphony in general is just like, are just tech wizards, I think. Like, everything I hear about their games, as someone who's like bounced off of like Gran Turismo years ago, I'm still very impressed by the visual quality they achieve in their games. Even on like the PS1 game, I think that game still looks phenomenal for its time. Shoot. This is like my least favorite phase, just because he's so wiggly. It's really hard to pin down a shot. Too early. Now he's going after us. Again, luckily I have so much health, so I can just kind of tank a hit. I don't need to, like, play particularly well. I'm running out of magic, which is a problem. I mean, the little, like, small enemies will give us magic if we defeat them, and I probably should, because otherwise we might have problems. Yep, that's a full. Actually, that's not a full. That replenishes a lot less than I remember. Yeah, this phase, in my opinion, is just kind of annoying. Like, it's not difficult unless you have, like, a 3-heart run. But, like, it's just really hard to pin down a shot. There we go. I was just kind of randomly firing off arrows at that point, to be totally honest. Definitely was not paying as much attention as I probably should have been. I also don't need to have this tracker open anymore, because we have everything we need. Skipping the cutscene, which I kind of figured. Actually, is the game nice and gonna let us just do this? I don't think it will, but I want to make sure. I want to see if it does or not. It does not. Okay. I figured as much. Jump over here. You can swing on this. I actually don't want to, because obviously, there's not really a lot of places to go here. There's like the pots along the side. I guess that is a way to restock magic, but it also feels like a waste at the same time. And now we have this slow climb up to the boss. It's still faster than Snake Eater. See, that's a game I've thought about streaming, but if I only do 3-hour streams, there's the dynamic of most of the stream would just be cutscenes. Cause like, I want to say the opening of Snake Eater is like an hour or so, with like maybe just a tiny bit of gameplay. And so, like, the first stream of Snake Eater would literally just be a cutscene, basically, for half of it. But again, I've actually never played Metal Gear Solid 1, I've only played 2 onwards. I actually started with 4, which was a great place to start. I had no idea what was happening, but I had fun with the game. Like, gameplay-wise, 4 is great. I played it after playing 2 and 3, and it's like, wow, this makes so much sense now. I actually kind of understand it, as much as you can say you can understand Metal Gear. Which is not a lot, in all fairness, but better than 0. That is not close. That is too close, actually. Not that was too far. Alright, one more layer to go. Gonna restock over here, fight the little guys. I forgot what these are called. They have a name. Everything has a name because of, like, the Nintendo Gallery. So, like, everything has, like, you know, documented, you know, enemy names. I was trying to remember if this is the one that takes magic or rupees. This takes magic, meaning it's not really worth it. If it was the one that took rupees, I would definitely equip it, just to completely style on Ganon. But alas, it is not, so we will proceed as normal. Alright, we only have one hookshot target between us and Ganondorf, so, yeah, this was a pretty good seed, all things considered. A few hang-ups, again, partly on my end, because I didn't quite understand how certain mechanics worked. So, luckily this fight's not too difficult. I'm a good friend, thank you. I actually don't remember how to fight this boss, by the way, which will definitely prove to be a problem a bit. Which is funny, because I was watching a speedrun on this game, like a video explaining speedruns on this game not that long ago. It's like, I should remember how to fight Ganondorf at this point. It's basically divided into different phases. Some involve needing to wait for Zelda to fire off light arrows, others involve just countering at the right time, some involve both. So now we have this phase where we are on our own, we basically just have to dodge until, or like dodge and counter a few attacks, and then check in on Zelda in a bit. I think she'll stand up on her own eventually, but we can also just go over to her, I think. I think that works, from what I gather. Also, I feel like this is the most unreliable counter in the entire game. For some reason, I always have trouble getting that to engage. Like, she just kind of goes too far off to the side and completely whiffs. Oh, that actually... did that deal damage? Okay, that just pushes you back. It doesn't actually hurt you. I was gonna say, if, like, the water wall hurt, that would be kind of frustrating, actually. Alright, come on, one more. Yeah, I don't know how to better position for that. Maybe I'm, like, standing... Yeah, I don't know how this works exactly. I've always had this issue in both versions. This is not, like, exclusive to this randomizer. Or the mod for the character model. Alright, so now we have to go talk to her. Again, she'll talk to you anyway. This just speeds it up a little bit. So all we have to do is wait for her to fire an arrow at us, deflect it back at Ganondorf, and land one final counterattack. I do like how, like, the Ocarina of Time Ganon theme is mixed in here. Alright, so all we have to do is land this counter, and we're done! Hey, that is game. So yeah, first time ever completing a Wind Waker randomizer. Overall, that was fun. Again, I don't know if I'll do another one, at least anytime soon. But this was nice, and again, I might change settings, to be honest. If I do another one, I don't know if I want to have treasure charts turned on, just because that greatly extends the length of it. But again, at least the nice thing is I know more about, one, the game proper, and two, how the randomizer actually works. So that is a good feeling, actually. Finally getting through one after many years of trying. So we'll just let the ending play out here. I'm trying to think of anything else. It's kind of funny, we didn't have to do any of the Wind Temple. I also would need to double check how much of the other temples we had to do, to be honest, because it feels like we didn't have to do much of most of the temples, to be completely honest. I'm gonna show this on screen later, but I just want to quickly skim the spoiler log just to see anything of note. They seem to have, like, an ordered list. Yeah, it does seem to be in order. And then there's another list at the end, it looks like, that just lists everything you need. Well, like, just all item locations based on location, and all items grouped by order. So now I'm just kind of curious, and again, we'll show this later as well, but I just wanted to see if anything of note was in Wind Temple. The compass is locked to Mulgara, that's funny. So yeah, the Wind Temple would have been a massive waste of time. There was nothing there except a bomb bag upgrade and telescope that technically counts as a key item. The other bomb bag was tied to the gold membership from Beetle, so that wasn't even in Logic. That's interesting that the bomb bag upgrade, and I assume the air upgrade would be the same, where it might not be in Logic. I also like how the little air bubble isn't really designed around Linkle, so it's definitely still very Link-shaped. I mean, here's the thing, I definitely did a lot more than I needed to. Hypothetically, I really didn't need to collect a whole lot. So now I'm curious about the actual order. Yeah, Wind Waker is still probably my favorite Zelda game, in general. I just feel like it has some of my favorite moments in terms of, like, you know, overall atmosphere and everything. Oh, it just totally skips the credits and epilogue scene. That is actually slightly anticlimactic, actually. Oh well. You can also do a second quest for this, but I don't really see the point of doing that, to be honest, just because it's like... It's going to be the same item placements, so I guess if you wanted to, like, go through it again and just do everything quickly, that'd be an option. Actually, here's a question. Is there anything for the casual? Because she has a different outfit, or she probably will. Oh, well that's kind of lame. Typically in the second run, you have a, different outfit, but I guess that makes sense, because the mod did so much work on this main outfit, it's, like, not any different. But yeah, traditionally, the second quest has a different outfit, but again, that's a mild disappointment. Again, the mod is very well done, though. So we will return to the file select, and I just want to quickly buzz through what the game says, or what the spoiler log says. It actually does list all of the Tingle statues. Yeah, I wish it was like her hood down or something, but again, that would be a lot of work, probably. This does list all of the Tingle statues, which is interesting, given that I feel like they weren't really required for much. Oh wait, we got the letter that took us to, the Master Sword. So yeah, the Tingle statues were required in the end, because I wasn't sure at first if they would be required for anything, and they were in the end. So yeah, Dragon Tingle statue and Outset, Triforce Shard, Spoils Bag, Wind Tingle statue, Triforce Shard 4, Deku Leaf, a bunch of treasure charts, Pharaoh's Pearl. Those are for the Windfall checks, so the things we had to do and Windfall were, at first at least, were the maze for the Triforce chart, or Triforce Shard, Killer Bees for the Spoils Bag, talking to Mrs. Marie for the Windtingle statue, the House of Wealth for the Triforce Shard, Taunt for the Deku Leaf, Pirate Ship for a treasure chart, and the 5 and 8 80 rupee auctions for those respective charts, following the Thief for Pharaoh's Pearl, and then the second prize and under 20 shots prizes for the Battle Squid minigame. So that's all the things that this says were required for Windfall, if I'm assuming this correctly. For the Wind Shrine, or for Dragon Roost, it says Dragon Roost next, which is Treasure Chart 19 and the wallet from the Baito minigame. There's the Rat Room, both of the Rat Room chests, one for the big key and the other for the Tingle statue. Inside Mother Child Isles for the Triforce chart, the Lookout platform at Fire Mountain for a treasure chart, the barrel shooting games for the bow and another treasure chart. Again, this was a very treasure chart heavy randomizer seed. Angular Isles Peak for a treasure chart. Nehru's Pearl was at the boating course raft fight. Stonewater Island Lookout platform for a Triforce chart. Western Fairy Island Lookout platform for a treasure chart. Again, this is a lot of charts. Northern Fairy Island for the Great Fairy, who had bombs, and the submarine, which had the Earth Tingle statue. The Lookout platform at Bomb Island for the Earth God's lyric. Did I never actually do that? Huh. Starbelt Archipelago Lookout platform, Wind God's aria, and now I'm like, I guess I didn't do that. I thought I did for some reason. I thought I had gotten the Starbelt Archipelago taken care of, but I guess not. Now I'm like gonna check the tracker, cause I could have sworn I did that. And we didn't have the Wind God's aria, at least I'm pretty sure we didn't. Starbelt Archipelago, Lookout platform, yeah, we never did that. So again, that's where the Wind God's aria was all along. Cliff Plateau Isles Lookout platform was a Triforce Shard. 7-Star Isles Lookout platform, Center Lookout platform, and Two Eye Reef Lookout platform were both treasure charts. They're divided into like numbers, so that was number 1. Number 2, there's Jaboon's Cave for Din's Pearl, Going Around the Island and Dragon Roost, and the Secret Cave for the Delivery Bag and Boomerang. Triforce Chart 7 was in the cave at Bomb Island. Cliff Plateau Isles was another Tingle statue. Two Eye Reef Big Octo was the Great Fairy one, that was a treasure chart. Great Fish Hidden Chest on the Alcove was a treasure chart. Charts from Kamali's father and the letter advertising Rockspire. Both were, like, one was a treasure chart, the other was a Triforce chart. Chest at the top of the waterfall was another treasure chart. Bait Bag was Isle of Steel. There's a treasure chart and a Cabana Deed in the Choo Choo Cave in Paw Print. Actually, you know, why am I reading all this stuff out? I could just put it on screen. I'm a little bit afraid to put a window capture on because I don't know what it will default to. That's actually my reason for, like, not just putting it on screen. Great Fairy and Eastern Fairy Island was a Triforce Shard. The magic meter was Great Fairy at Southern Fairy Island. There was the Progressive Bow and Rockspire Isle Cave, the Iron Boots Treasure Chart 28, and Power Bracelets from the Shop Ship, and then Triforce Shard 3 and the Empty Bottle from the lookout platforms. The other one was just like a Deku Baba seed. It was completely useless. Skullhammer was Star Island Cave. Treasure Chart 36 was Cyclops Reef. 3-Eye Reef was a Triforce Shard. 4-Eye Reef was the cannons and gunboats at 4-Eye Reef were another treasure chart. 6-Eye Reef were the Triforce Shard for the cannons and gunboats, and a sword for the lookout platform. So that was section 2. So section 3 is digging up the soil on outset for a treasure chart. Shield from Tsunari, which again, I wish I had thought of sooner, because that would have helped a lot. Stonewatch Island was the command melody for the cave. Great Fairy was Triforce Chart 3. Seven Star Isles was the hook shot for the south lookout platform. Letter from Grandma was the Picto Box, progressive Picto Box. And Letter from Tingle was the progressive sword, so that was probably like second Master Sword upgrade. The Islet of Steel lookout platform was Treasure Chart 10. Tower of the Gods, there was the chest behind bombable walls, that was a Triforce chart. They're all charts basically. The rest are all treasure charts, like Light 2 Torches, Skull's Room Chest, Shoot Eye Above Skull's Room Chests, and the Stone Tablet. And then the Darknet mini-boss room was the Note to Baito's mom. See, this is the fascinating thing, because just looking at this, it's like, there's a lot of treasure charts that I just kind of feel like go to rupees or other things, but I don't remember. Hyrule itself was Treasure Chart 18. Forsaken Fortress Chest on the Bed was the second Picto Box. Treasure Chart on Headstone. Great, which is the one we got, like, at the very end. I don't think that actually... I don't think we even got that one. Like, to see what it was. Cyclos was the Moblin's letter. Tingle Island, all statues was Maggie's letter, which, again, that was very helpful. Birdman Contest was a chart. Submarine was another bottle. That was the only other bottle we got. Windfall, left chest was the ghost ship chart. Right chest was another chart. Maggie's letter reward was the Master Sword, essentially. Postman was a chart. Angular Isles Cave was a chart. Pawprint Isle Wizrobe Cave was a Triforce chart. Then back to Tower of the Gods for some reason. I don't know why it's out of order like this. But then it's like... Treasure chart from the Armorous Knights, the Tower of the Gods Big Key from the Floating Platforms room, and then the Big Key chest was a Triforce chart. Doesn't actually say anything about fighting the boss though, oddly enough. Yeah, then Earth Temple, it says Treasure Chart 22, and then the Big Key, which we just saw. And Wizrobe Room and Wind Temple for the Big Key, 2 charts from the Wind Temple. And then that was then Overlook Island Cave for the grappling hook. So yeah, it lists a lot of charts that you don't actually need to get for some reason. I don't understand why. Because then afterwards, you only... Like, the guide only lists, like, 1, 2... 2 sunken chests, well 3, Big Octo. Yeah, it turns out you only need like 3 sunken treasures, so we spent a lot of time that we didn't need to spend trying to fish up everything. But you never know until you try. So yeah, section 5 is the letter from Baito, which is the progressive bow. Which would be the fire and ice arrows in that order, though that was the last one we got. Thorn Fairy Island is another bottle. Tower of the Gods, Godan was a treasure chart. Forsaken Fortress was another quiver upgrade. Small Island Chest in Forest Haven was chart. Forbidden Woods was it says treasure chart 12 for past seeds hanging by vines, and then the big key chest was the Forbidden Woods big key. And yeah, it's like, why show this in the list of like order if like there's not really a whole lot tied to that? I don't quite understand. But then it says Ganon's Tower, Maze Chest, Treasure Chart 34. Big Octo at Diamond Step is the Progressive Bow, and then Ganon's Tower, defeat Ganondorf. So that was a lot of information, actually. But just to look up some other things really quickly, the other empty bottle, again, one empty bottle was in a, Hi Kirby, welcome. We're just kind of wrapping up, actually. I just finished the randomizer seed, so I've just been going through the spoiler log, just seeing what I can find. So now I'm looking at the total list of everything. So yeah, the other empty bottle was in the Savage Labyrinth, along with a heart container. Stream did go pretty well. I definitely didn't need to spend as much time looking into sunken treasures as I did, which goes for a lot of these streams, but we eventually pulled through. And again, like the telescope and... Wait, what were we missing of like key items? Now I'm curious about this. Yeah, we're missing 2 bottles and the telescope for those. We're missing the Wind God's Aria, which I already mentioned was Starbelt Archipelago. And a lot of heart pieces and heart containers. I'm not overly concerned about that. We are missing like the charm. So that's the other thing I figure I might as well look up is the Hero's Charm. Hero's Charm was in the sunken treasure at the flight control platform. I didn't actually get that. I could have sworn I got a lot of the treasures, but then it turns out I did not. So, yeah, like main inventory stuff, that's basically all we're missing. And we're missing just a handful of charts beyond that. What was tied to... There's one thing I want to see what was like tied to it, which is the trees. Because it will be listed here, even if it's not required. The Withered Trees quest was a green rupee. That's just insult to injury at that point. I'm also wondering if there is actually a separate reward for the other type of flower. Doesn't even list like anything else with Zunari, so maybe nothing is tied to the shopkeeper statue, whatever that's called. There's also an entrance randomizer, which is really fun. You can or a treasure chart randomizer too, where it's like the treasure charts go to random islands. To me, that sounds like hell. That just sounds extraordinarily confusing. Because then you can't like cross-reference numbers or anything. You just have to kind of wing it and hope for the best. So yeah, in general, a very successful first seed, if I do say so myself. Well, first successful seed, again. This isn't my first attempt at a randomizer like this, but I definitely want to do more at some point. I don't know what I'll do. However, I would like to do more in the future. Still would have to look into different games to potentially do randomizers for. But I definitely want to keep trying these out. Minish Cap Rando is tempting. Link's Awakening Rando is tempting. Again, since some friends were talking about doing an archipelago at some point. I'm almost curious about Ocarina, though I would not do a Skull of Sanity, because I do not know Ocarina that well. Maybe Majora's Mask would be fun. Yeah, I might look into Majora's Mask for the next 3D Zelda Rando. 2D's an open book, basically. But then there's all sorts of other franchises to do randomizers for. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this playthrough. This was a lot of fun to do. And we'll definitely be back in the future for some more randomizers. So yeah, I don't know what to do now. It's 2 hours. I was planning to make this a short stream, and frankly, my voice is kind of dying already, so I might just call it here. And try to rest. But again, I'm glad to have finished the seed without too much trouble. Again, I was a little bit worried because of, like, potentially having to go through both the Wind Temple and Earth Temple. Turns out we only needed to do one, even though there's still some good stuff in the Wind Temple. So yeah, I hope everyone has a... yeah, I don't think we'll raid either, just I think I want to, like, sign out and try to rest. So, I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening, and next stream... Who's the most gender in Street Fighter? I don't know. It depends on if you mean 6 or... older, because if you go back to the older games, my answer would change. If we're just talking 6, it might be Cammy. I'm actually kind of not sure if it is or not. So, like, my thing is, I would like to play Chun-Li, but I'm terrible with charge inputs. So, if it wasn't for that, I would probably play Chun-Li. Otherwise, Cammy is an easier character to play, so that's usually why I stick with her. But basically, I don't even know where I was going with that. Next stream, I have no clue when it'll be. Again, I was planning to take this week off entirely, and yet here I am, still streaming today anyway, so... it's just how I roll sometimes, it's just winging it. But I will probably at least attempt to stream again on Wednesday, but the last 2 have been cancelled, so don't be surprised if something comes up by Wednesday. And it'll be something different, probably. I have a game picked out, roughly picked out, though it is still subject to change, and thus I will not say it yet. I will not announce it until it is happening, and it will probably be a 1-stream game, because if my calculations are correct, this game is only like 2 hours long, if everything goes well. If everything goes poorly, then it might be more like 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, I have an idea for a short game to just do as a one-off stream. I have a couple of short games for one-off streams in mind. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good week. If I don't stream again by Wednesday, or maybe even sooner. It's not 20 small mazes. That'd be almost too short for a stream. That'd be like really short. But yeah, I have something in mind, but you'll have to wait and see what it is. But yeah, I hope everyone has a good night. Take care, everybody.